Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good
Welcome
morning.
to the
Morning.
Advisory Council meeting for Tuesday, April 6th. Since this is a subcommittee meeting of the board, we'll take roll. Mr. Curtis.
I am here.
Thank you. And Mr. Felber.
I am here as well.
All right. So I will hand this meeting over to one of the two of you then.
All right.
Go for it, Rob.
All right. 1 second. Of course, I clicked on the wrong. Here we go. Obviously, we are in the Business Advisory Council meeting, and purpose of this subcommittee is to advise the Twinsburg City School District on changes in the economy and the job market and in the area where future jobs may likely be available. We are, as a committee, an advocate for the employment skills that are most critical to business and industry, and matching up our curriculum and teaching these skills, and to aid and support the district by offering suggestions on developing the working relationships among businesses, labor, and educators. And thank you for opening the meeting. Kathy, I think the first order of business is to review and approve the minutes from our last meeting, which, gosh, I don't have enough screens this morning. Let's see.
Right. The committee members received it last.
Yeah, I was just looking for the date. Yeah, so we have
Last meeting was January 26th.
right, January 26th, and I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hopefully someone's getting that. And any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? And those minutes are approved. I'll start with maybe the first update. I'm sure Mark probably has some legislative. So, probably the most important thing on the district's agenda as we speak is our upcoming $5 million emergency levy, which is a renewal. So as you've all heard the talking points of no new taxes, this is a very critical part of our funding, as it is the only way that we really are funded. And I know I've heard from the sign committee that has started to put signs out. So if anybody does need a sign, if they could let us know, would like a sign in their yard, they're starting to place them, I believe, yesterday. And also there is a very active social media campaign going, Twinsburg Levy, if you Google that. And I know lastly, they are looking for folks to help with the polls. So I've signed up for a couple of shifts, basically, supporting the polls. You don't have to walk up to people or talk to them. I really just prefer to stand behind the levy sign and be present at the various polls. Does anybody have any questions, things they've heard, or questions on the levy itself? All right. I think we need to start having virtual coffee at these meetings too to get everybody moving. But again, a very, very critical piece. I haven't heard opposition besides what, we know. But this is a renewal that's been on the books many, many times. And, with this type of renewal, the caps set in the 1970s law and the House Bill 920 apply, as well as the fact that there is a 12.5% rollback. So if for some tragic reason this levy were not to pass and we were to have to seek new money, it would actually cost the homeowners more. And we'd probably be in a very critical position. So if you can help spread the message on that, we as a district continue to study and survey and follow the health orders. I'm not sure if Kath, if you're going to talk about this, but COVID, which obviously is really the main topic of the last 14 months. But no decisions have been made from the board with regard to next year. We're discussing and CDC guidelines and immunizations and vaccinations are, the news, as you all know, is changing daily. So, if you do hear, this is happening or this is happening, the board has not decided, along with the administration, what next year looks like just yet. And those are, I think, and I do see, I'm sorry, Kathy, you do have COVID updates. So I'll toss to Mark. I'm sure there's always a couple legislative. Mark is the legislative liaison for the district and is served in this capacity for as long as I think as long as there's been a Senate and a House.
Yeah, so thanks, Rob. The only major legislative piece that is going on right now, and it's pretty critical, is House Bill 1. It is the reintroduction of the fair funding proposal that died in the Senate during the last legislative, during the last General Assembly. So it is now working its way through the process again. It's headed to the Senate, where it died. And me, along with other members of OSBA, currently have a working group where we're arranging meetings with senators to drum up support for the bill, hoping that this time it'll be included in this biennial budget, the governor's budget, for approval. Just to recap, the reason that this is critical, as Rob has spoken about this renewal levy, House Bill 1 is the first comprehensive piece of legislation that is considered constitutional. There have been many, many times that the current way in which we are funded has been ruled unconstitutional. This is a very bipartisan proposal that has been worked on over many months. Superintendents, including our superintendent, our treasurer, many other treasurers throughout the state, board members and the like have worked on this proposal. And it is, as what they say, the title is a fair funding proposal. For whatever reason, there's some opposition in the Senate. I believe it's really around how it's going to be paid for, but it's pretty well laid out. So this coming week, actually, we have a call scheduled with Senator Rogner, who's our senator. And we're going to be engaging her and kind of walking her through the legislation, as well as, really asking for her support and also guidance as to what we might do as a community to ensure that we talk to the appropriate people in the Senate and the appropriate committees to ensure that this thing ends up getting passed out of the Senate and onto the governor's desk for approval. It's critical because one of the major components is that the reason that our funding system was ruled unconstitutional so many times is because it was too heavily reliant on property taxes, right? So we have this renewal levy coming up, and as you know, the majority of the money that we use for funding is based on property taxes. So passing this funding model will actually make us a little less reliant on property taxes and also allow the state to generate more revenue for us to operate on. So both of these issues are very important. Passing the renewal levy is critical, but also if we can get this legislation passed, it's going to be very, very beneficial to the district in the long run. So that's the only major update I have on the legislative front.
Okay.
Um,
Thanks, Mr. Curtis.
Kathy, I'm sorry. Do you mind, Mark? And if you've talked about this in past years, I don't recall what is exactly the way that they are proposing funding with this new fair funding proposal.
Well, specifically, and Kathy, you can chime in here too as well, because I know you've been involved in the conversations. It's actually, our district is capped, which means that even though we're supposed to get funded on a per pupil basis, we only receive a certain amount of that, and then we don't get any more over and above that. So we're actually not getting as much money as we're supposed to get on a per pupil basis, based on the way that we're funded. there's actually 3 different funding models in existence in Ohio. We're capped. There's also the guarantee, where some districts are on the guarantee. I forget the third model, but this is going to basically, even things out where, districts that, receive, don't receive enough money, get money. There's no district that actually loses money in this proposal. And instead of the money coming from you, the taxpayer, it comes from, the General Assembly. It comes from the state. So, that's really the most significant piece of this. And again, this has been worked on by folks that have traditionally worked on our funding models. Representative Cupp, who is now the Speaker of the House, is one of the major people that's been involved in this, and he's done a lot with respect to school funding over the years for the state. So this piece of legislation, really does make it constitutional, and we're able to generate money for our coffers, and it's not completely reliant on the taxpayers. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, Michelle, or not, but it's
So
it's
it
gonna be
would
good.
actually, if this would pass, would provide the district about $3.2 million. As Mark indicated, our funding source wouldn't be capped. We typically spend, I think, between $11,000 and $12,000 per student per year, and from that state we get about $3,000. So what happens is it's backfilled by our taxpayers. And so what the fair funding model is actually trying to do is to determine what it actually costs to educate a child in Ohio. And of course, you have to throw into that mix if the child has special education services, what the cost is for transportation. There's a lot that goes into the recipe to determine how much it actually costs per pupil to educate. And they never have done a calculation to make that determination known. They basically paintbrush the state with one color and said, this is what you're going to get. And it didn't take into consideration all those different variables. Every kiddo that we have in our district is different than the next one. And so we're very hopeful. There is some resistance. And, if you think about education in Ohio, we're just one piece of the pie. There's, healthcare, and there's funding for infrastructure. And so I never would want to run for a legislative office, because although our piece of the pie is education, the legislators are being pulled in multiple elections. We're grateful that we finally have their attention on this one, because for many years, funding in Ohio has been unconstitutional, as we all know, in the DeRolf decision. But this one it seems to have caught a lot of attention, and we're hopeful. And so, as Mark indicated, the next couple of weeks is critically important, because it's on the docket for consideration in Columbus. So we're hopeful, but as Marty will tell you, until the money's in the bank, we don't count on anything. I'm sure not the first time that we've had conversations to try to write the state budget. And we've been disappointed more than we've celebrated. So we continue to plug away. And I thank Mark for taking on the lead here in the district as far as the board goes, and he works closely with OSBA. The other big organization that the district belongs to is the Alliance for High Quality Education. I sit on the executive committee for that board, and very instrumental in a lot of decisions that are made in the state with regard to education. And then Chad is on the board of the Ohio Schools Council, as I am too, and so that's a local board that also helps put together some great legislation. So it's important as educators that we pay attention to local things, but also we have to have a pretty good voice in what's happening in Columbus and nationally too. So I thank Mark and Chad for their roles as advocates for the kids here in the district.
This is Todd Courtney. Can I make a comment about that for a minute?
Yeah.
Nothing personal, Mark, but I find it very unhelpful that you and other people talk about this taking the burden off the taxpayers and stuff. That is just factually incorrect and deceptive, and it doesn't do the cause of education support any favors at putting together a false narrative like that. I mean, the general legislature funds, the general funds for the legislature all come from the taxpayers regardless. So, you know, I'm fully in support of education funding and everything, but you know, this is the kind of thing that detractors are going to attack, the kind of statements that they're going to hit on where you're saying things that aren't factually true. I mean,
yeah, I would encourage you to actually, you know, read the legislation, so that, you know, you can kind of, you know, be a little bit more familiar with the funding mechanism and where it comes from. So yeah, in general, I mean, yeah, I mean, we all pay taxes, you know, but not every penny of taxes in the, you know, in the state legislature or whatever, you know, comes from property taxes. So, you know,
that's true. The vast majority doesn't.
Right. I'll just be very specific. Okay. Property taxes. I mean, that's pretty much, you know, the majority of which the money that we generate to operate is based on property taxes. There are other, obviously, areas of ways in which Columbus generates revenue. So I'm speaking specifically to property taxes and how we are funded as a district in every district in the state of Ohio.
Well, then make that clear. I mean, again, it's all a matter of how you divvy up the pie. You know, who's paying for which part of the pie. It's all coming out of the taxpayers' pockets ultimately, and any taxes are a drain on the economy. Just economically speaking, taxes are a drain on the economy. Taxes don't generate jobs. So, I mean, we can argue over the necessity of education funding, and I'm fully on board with that. But I'm not okay with saying that, you know, it doesn't come out of the taxpayers' pockets, because every last dime does.
And I'm, you know, again, I want to be very clear. That's not what I said.
Yeah, it is what you said. It's precisely what you said.
Well,
You said it's not coming out of.
Mark's point, Todd, was it's not an overlance on the local taxpayer, so that we would have to continue to pass levies to support the Twinsburg City School.
Kathy, I'm 100% in agreement with that. We can argue over the way that the funding is managed and the fact that you guys have to jump through hoops every 2 years or 3 years or whatever to get levies passed and stuff. And I don't think that's particularly useful. But again, it's all coming out of the taxpayers' pockets, so we've got to find ways to be efficient with our tax dollars. You know, we can't just think that this is free money like we're spending in the federal government right now.
I think that's a point well taken, and it's, you know, it's often how the messaging is done, and I appreciate what you're saying, and the reliance on taxes is a problem, but we're hopeful that this legislation will even out the playing field, especially for districts who are overly reliant on having to go back to the ballot in repeated nature, and we'll see what happens. We're hopeful that Christina Rogner will be an advocate on our behalf. Casey Weinstein already has been, so we're appreciative of his efforts, and we'll see how it rolls with the Senate here. And it's important that Senator Rogner understands the perspective of public educators in her district, her region here. I think it's 37. Is that right, Mark? I think that's what her number is.
Yes. Yes.
Up here.
Yeah.
But thanks for the comment, Todd. I always appreciate hearing from those who support us, because your perspective is really important. And again, it's the messaging and how you say things. And sometimes when you're in the middle of being in this education world, we assume people understand what we say and how we say it, as we use a lot of letters and education speak. So thank you for providing us with some guidance in how the messaging should be.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to try to screen share, and I'm not a tech wizard at all, as Norm and Chad will tell you, but I want to show you these two commercials that were put together by the Blue Ribbon Schools Committee. We have wonderful business partners in our community, and there's an organization up the street called Classic Teleproductions. They do a lot of work for us. Last year, if you had a student that graduated in the class of 20, they were behind the video that we used at commencement. And Deb Bacon and her crew are fantastic. So I'm going to try to show you the 2 commercials because I think they're just awesome. And we'll see if I pass the test today for doing this. Let's see. Crud. Chad or Norm, if you're around the building, you can stop by here because I really want to show the group this, and I'm having trouble because it's a link I have.
Can you open up that hyperlink?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Or
Try
open up.
just right-clicking it and copying it. Oh, there you go.
It's coming.
This levy is important to our village whose motto is a great place to live.
Thank you.
Preferred schools are a must. This renewal levy is not a new tax. It is a fixed dollar amount for a fixed period of time and will not raise your taxes. We need your support on May 4th. Please vote yes on issue 6.
Even in challenging times, the Queensbridge School District pivoted and delivered quality programming and services to all students. As an example of how the property taxes support the school's 21st century learning, Chromebooks for all students, athletics, and extracurriculars, and most importantly, preparing our students for their future.
Part of the promises made, promises kept. This levy has been part of the Twinsburg City School District's financial strategic plan and is essential to maintaining the current programming and opportunities for students. This renewal levy is for day-to-day expenses and was originally passed by the voters in 2001 and is renewed every 10 years. It is not a new tax.
So that was the first one. That is not one of them. And I want to show you the kid one, and it just disappeared here. So, okay. All right. My link's not working. So why don't we go on with the rest of the meeting, and I'll try to figure this out, and I'll come back to showing you the student version because it's really very good. So Norm, if you could talk through the Academy pieces here while I fiddle with this thing.
Sure. A few updates. Donna Houston oversees our senior experience, and I know that she and Dr. Hebert have been talking about the availability of seniors being able to get out into the workplace as part of their senior experience, and that's difficult just because of the situation we're in. So in the newsletters that went out today to everybody, they talk about the requirements for senior experience, hoping that some of the businesses that may or may not know about all the details of senior experience can at least have that information in their hand, and hopefully we can help Donna out by getting some businesses involved that may not have been involved in the past. That comes up here in the next few weeks, and it is difficult. I'm getting quite a few random emails from students and from teachers, seeing if I know of anybody in a field here and there. And so I'm just trying to help out by putting that out there. So if you want to share that information that goes out in those newsletters, I think all of you will be part of that. And speaking of the newsletters, you'll notice that we've taken your advice on how we should go about the newsletters. We have incorporated the help of some students. We have two seniors, Lizzie Heiner and Eisen. I think Eisen's involved in every committee here in the school district. But those two are writing newsletters for us to a weekly newsletter and also a monthly newsletter. And we also have a little 6th grader, Neela, who's top notch, Neela O'Hara. she also has a weekly and a monthly newsletter that she sends out, and she has been incredible. And they'll be talking a little bit later. But one of the things, talking later at the board meeting coming up, one of the things that we've noticed just recently in the last few months is that the expansion of the academy at Twinsburg High School is now going down as low as fourth grade. We've had kids in fourth grade attend some of the events. And so we're getting that reach to younger kids. And Neela just happened to be at one of the presentations. And because of her interest in our reporter, our alumnus, Jennifer Hansler from CNN, she wanted to be part of the academy and she offered to write newsletters. So it really has been a great experience getting those younger kids involved. I also want to thank Marion Wright, who's on this call. She's doing a leadership group with Coach Bell and a few of the football players, just to try out a potential leadership program that we can offer later down the road. And I have to say it's been an incredible experience that Marion has put together for these kids. And this Thursday we have a panel on leadership, and that includes Will Waller, who was our first speaker, who's now the chairman of the National Wheelchair Basketball Association. At the time, he was working with Goodyear. He's also the Paralympian basketball player that has 2 bronze medals from different Paralympics. Eric Dermelian, who's a former student of mine who leads leadership training for an automotive parts plant up in Michigan. And then we also have another alumnus, Dr. William Komar, who is a professor of chemistry at Arizona State University, but graduated from Twinsburg and had a very jagged path to where he's at now. And he's going to be speaking in that panel also. So I'm looking forward to hearing that one. And Marion, thank you very much for putting that all together for us.
Norm, that's virtual at what time?
That leadership one is Thursday at 6, but that's a private group since it's a pilot.
Okay. Gotcha.
But Dr. Komar will be speaking later in the month. He's speaking April 28th, and that will be open for anybody. And he's actually looking forward to reconnecting to Twinsburg. He was pretty excited that I asked him to be part of it. So the 28th registration is out there. An update on the corporate curricular challenges. Remember, the purpose of this is to get kids involved that haven't necessarily been involved in the academy as much, and trying to incorporate right into the curriculum. And so some of the high school teachers have volunteered to be part of this organization, this programming, where they look at their curriculum and they try to find specific standards that they can teach using these challenges from different partners. We have one called RA, which is Redeeming Africa's Hope, and Mike Bell's psychology classes will be working with them. And they have already met with Laura virtually, and they're going to meet again with her. Laura's the head of RA, and they're going to develop some programming that will help the slums of Nairobi, Kenya to improve their living conditions as much as possible. We have a mock natural disaster that will be working with Nora Suda Riley in her anatomy physiology class, and Jessica York in the HOSA group in biology. And they'll be working with University Hospitals, the Twinsburg Fire Department, and the CERT team. And University Hospitals already put all the training videos together, and I'm meeting with some of the CERT team and the fire department this week to actually develop the tabletop exercise that's going to happen for those kids. That one's pretty overwhelming in regards to how much the teachers are willing to do there. And it's just those 2 classes, and they're trying to do it over a 3-day period right at the end of the year, which I know Dr. Hebert and I both were like, that's a crazy time of year, but they think it's the best time of year to do it. And they're all gung-ho for that one. We have a social justice art challenge that the art department, Dan Lundy, Ashley Plassard, and Sharon Masinko, and also one of our ELA teachers, Maggie Chernick, and a middle school teacher who has a middle school student that's interested, Lynette Jimenez, is working with Sally Jacobs, who's an artist from North Carolina, and they're going to be researching a social justice cause, and then creating art to bring awareness to that cause, and somehow going to display that. They're going to allow students to sort of say how that's going to look virtually, or if it's going to be something that they can spread out and display some other way. But I have to say, and I don't say this often, I probably don't say it often enough, that art department and Maggie have been rock stars in they told me, we don't need you at this meeting. You can go do other things, which was awesome. They really took over that piece of it, which I really appreciate. And then the last one is the Title IX event, which we initially dubbed as a fashion show, but it's turned into really focusing on Title IX because it's the 50th anniversary next year of Title IX for equality in, most people assume it's just sports, but it's in all programming. And Donna Houston's the one working with Jeff Orloff. And we've already had several meetings. Jeff has rolled it out to Donna's fashion class, and it really has been a nice transition from a fashion show to working on empowerment and the Title IX aspect. It's really been another great thing. And that one's rather large also. So a few items. Melissa, last time we talked, you were concerned about the understanding how the academy fits into the graduation diplomas. So Tanya Brennan and myself went through, and I'm going to share my screen now so you can see this. If you go to our website, Tanya helped develop this. This is the Academy website on our webpage. And if you go down to where it says Diploma Seals and Academy Pathways, if you click on that, we now have a link to help sort of go through the different options. And so if you want to click on the STEM Honors Diploma, it will take you to the requirements of that diploma. So all the requirements for here at Twinsburg are right here. Here are the pathways that have natural ties. And if you click on that, you'll get the courses that fit into that pathway specifically as detailed in our course catalog. And then you can also click on the seals and it will tell you what specifically has to be done for a seal for the diploma in that regard. So we try to consolidate it as much as we could into one area, and it's still a work in progress to some extent because we want to add some other things to it, but we wanted to get that out there in response to, people having some confusion of what's available. And just hoping that it fits some of the needs. And like I said, we're still looking at expanding that a little bit more and making it more user friendly. And Tanya and the counseling group meets this coming Friday, and I'll be talking with them to, make sure that we all are on the same page with that. But I think it's a good tool to be able to have out there. And Tanya did a great job, finalizing everything on that document.
We also have a streamlined chart for the course catalog. Do you have that as well to show?
I do not.
Okay, I do if you want me to show
it.
it.
Yeah, let me stop sharing here.
All right. I know you can hear the fire drill in the background, but life goes on.
Well, I was about to evacuate, but go ahead.
I know. Well, Pop told me I didn't have to. Maybe he's trying to tell me something.
That's better than my daughter's smoke alarm going off at 3:30 in the morning last night, calling me, asking me what to do.
All right. Can you all see this? I can't see you, so you have to tell me.
No.
No, Laura.
No, not yet, Laura.
Oh, I'm having a Mrs. Powers moment.
Hey, now.
All right. I'm going to share it with Norm, and Norm, you can show it because I can't. It'll take me all day to figure it out. So.
All right. So do that, and I'll be happy to figure it out here.
All right. Well, you are on it. All right. So, Norm.
And as we're getting that, there are a few other things that we're looking for input moving forward. And Dr. Hebert and I have talked a little bit about, the clubs that we have here and how we can incorporate that better into the curriculum, and getting different things available to our students. And this is my killing time speech as I'm waiting.
You should have it now. You should have it now.
In my email?
Mm-hmm. I
Okay.
shared it with you. Sorry, guys. If I'd had a kid in here, it would have been done in a second.
Yeah, I'm still waiting.
If I'd had Ison in here, he would have had distributed it to you earlier.
Yeah, I'll be missing Ison when he goes off to college next year, but I do have a 6th grader that will be here for a while to I'm not getting it yet, Laura. So,
All right, you guys keep working, and I'll figure it out.
all right. And you can set, I'll check my email here in a second. So another thing that we were talking about that we are moving forward with, and we're piloting a little bit, is a mentoring group for alumni. Right now, Cameron Fields, who works at cleveland.com, in the journal as a journalist, he is mentoring 2 students, a junior and a sophomore, and I'm sitting in on those meetings as a listener and somebody that's learning through the process on what we need in a mentoring group. And I'm meeting with the group of alumni that are interested in being involved in the school some way or another. And so I met with one group already in March. Excuse me, my voice is changing again. Met with one group in March, and I'm meeting with another one here later in April 19th, for kids that are interested in being mentors for potentially next year. We're just, again, making sure that we have all the ideas on paper, and then we can make it fit a little bit better. But the 2 people that are meeting right now are both meeting with Cameron on a quarterly basis, and just going over basic career things. And the first time I sat in on those meetings and just listened, it really was a great discussion. And one kid was very well prepared and had a ton of questions about his career. The other one was just trying to figure out his life in general, and Cameron handled those really, really well. So we're doing some of those training pieces with those potential mentors, and then working out the details on our side for liability and permission slips and all those other things. So it really is a process to make sure we don't just jump in. But I've been encouraged by the 60 some alumni that want to be involved back with our school and give back to us in one way or another. So that's a great piece, and it will also help other organizations, because then we have an alumni base to pull from to be able to oh, Dr. Hebert has it. Woohoo!
Go on with your bad self.
All right, so go ahead. That's all I have for the mentoring. So go ahead and show that.
So, Mrs. Murtis, what we tried to do is come up with like an easy to read chart where when kids were in the course catalog, they could see what they had available to them. So all pathways, regardless of what pathway you're in, would allow you to earn a possible academic honors diploma, as well as any of these possible graduation seals. So if they sign up for any pathway, they could get that at minimum. All right. If you scroll down, you'll see if they choose the business pathway, there's not really an honors diploma that matches that from the state of Ohio, but you could get, in addition to the graduation seals above, possibly this Ohio Means Job seal. If you choose broadcast journalism's pathway, there is an art honor diploma, and you could get a technology seal as well. So it just goes through CVCC, career tech, honors diploma, and those are the 2 seals that you will get no matter what, right? Engineering and manufacturing, information technology, visual arts matches up with one of the graduation honors diplomas from the state. And then those are the additional seals you would earn if you chose that pathway. So we tried to just match it, pathway, diploma, seals. Now, you could not earn it too if you chose not to take a specific class, but this is what you are able to earn across the board in all categories, dependent on your pathway. So I think that goes in the course catalog, and I think that will answer some of the questions that you or the kids had in terms of, can I get an honors diploma? Can I not get an honors diploma if I'm in this pathway? Those kinds of things. So, or what seals can I earn?
And Dr. Hebert, I love that, how that's laid out, because mine goes from diplomas and yours goes from the pathways. So I think between the 2, there's definitely some continuity on how that all comes together. That looks really good.
Thank you. I think from
the website too, under the high school page.
Me?
Yeah, I know you're going to put it in the
selection
book, but how about putting it on the website?
Yeah, we're going to put it under the Academy tab as well.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mrs. Murtis, I cut you off there.
No, that's okay. Thank you. I think this is definitely helpful. And from a parent's perspective, this then helps the parent be able to navigate this better with the student.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate you bringing this forward, because again, when you're in the middle of this, you don't see what you can't see. And that's the value of this committee. Because from a parent's perspective, we think we're giving information, but apparently it wasn't as clear or consistent, or it wasn't even out there the way parents and students needed it. So thank you for offering feedback, because we're getting better because of parents like you that are offering suggestions.
I just want to echo that. That was very, very enlightening to see it in that form. So thank you, Melissa, for bringing that up.
I also just wanted to take a moment to kind of brag on Norm and on Mrs. Powers and the whole academy. This year, we have a true graduating class, and this is going to be the stole that those students will have. You can't really see it, but it's got the academy logo embroidered on the stole. They'll wear the stole at graduation, and it's sort of like a champagne color. And I think this is sort of a tangible. It's sort of a tangible moment to what the academy is, right? We talk about it in terms of coursework. We talk about it in terms of people coming to see them, internships, mentoring. But this is sort of tangible in that the kids actually have something that shows that they went through this program of study, this program of enrichment. And so, Norm gave me Kathy and Norm gave me the idea and the logo, and Justin's just delivered these yesterday, so it's kind of exciting. So
it'd be nice, Dr. Hebert, if we could get those students together for a photo shoot, almost like a signing, that they do other
on graduation. Sure.
Laura, that looks awesome. I appreciate you working on that to get that done. And it was your idea for the stole. I don't want to take credit for that one. I just gave you the logo. So thank you for that.
You got to learn what a stole is. I never knew that was the name of it.
That's what they wear. Yeah. And some of the kids will have cords, and some of the kids will have, NHS type things. But this sets what I like about this is you don't necessarily have to have an honors diploma or an honors cord. This can be the kid who goes to CVCC and gets the Ohio. It kind of is a little more inclusive and not elitist. And there's nothing wrong with some of the more elitist categories, but this is just an addition to like what we already have, and I think it's kind of cool. And I really like the color. So when you see it, you'll know. But Kathy and Norman did a lot of work to get them to this point, so it's exciting that the kids have something to wear on the 24th.
Well, again, thank you. I do appreciate that. It's
Norm needs a stole, please.
Huh?
Norm needs a stole.
Well, I bought 10, one extra.
Yeah, for commencement, because he's the facilitator of this. He does a great job.
Sure.
Well, I said thank you, and I'll keep saying it because it is something that we've been working towards, and it's nice to see those kids get recognized. And it's also nice. I featured a couple of them in one of the newsletters in the past, and we'll have a few more here in the upcoming newsletters. These kids are great kids, and like I said, Ison, he's one of those and has been active. And I think that the people that I mentioned that are doing the newsletters, Ison's been involved since day one. Lizzie just got involved in the last couple months, and she said, I regret that I didn't get involved sooner, but she's now all in because she's trying to figure out what she wants to do. And then we have the other extreme with Neela, who's starting even before the plan. And Mark's son also has been involved in a few of the computer ones. So we're getting kids' interest there, and it's not just our seniors right now. It's various different levels. So that's great. So this is where we need input and some ideas for the future. And I have limited time, so I'll be quick about this, but not too quick, I hope. We are looking at, how can we better prepare for the next group, the next year, not knowing exactly where we're going to be next year. And also one of the things that we really struggled with that we were hoping for this year was the internships for kids going out and getting that experience this last year. But because of the pandemic, just like our senior experience, we weren't able to do that. So we try to think of ways to get the kids involved in a business-like format. And one of the things that we were thinking of, and this is out there for discussion, and Dr. Hebert and I talked about using our clubs as something to use for capstone for our curriculum, and also getting kids involved in other clubs that deal with business, because we have HOSA, which is the Future Health Educators, but there's also other groups out there like Skills USA and DECA, which are very popular clubs that we don't have chapters of here in the school district. But also I was thinking that maybe we could make the academy club-like and help with all of that and oversee all of that. And this way the club itself could help kids position themselves better into these different opportunities. So one of the things that we've put together, and I'm going to share my screen again real quick just so you can see it, to try to allow kids to have an internship one way or another. I like to propose an idea that in looking at the academy as a club opportunity, we would offer, if it loads, there it goes. All right, we would offer opportunities where we could actually create a business, quote unquote, where we would have a chief executive officer that would be a student that's part of the academy. And then they would have these different pieces and parts underneath that would basically emulate a business. And this could be their internship. They actually help run the academy, where they make the decisions with the guidance of myself, Dr. Hebert, the counselors. So they would basically be the executive team for the academy. And then we would also have other students that work in the academy as part of the club, where they would each take one of the pathways, and it would only be the pathways that we offer currently. So there wouldn't be 14 necessarily. That I was using the state one when I wrote that up. But with the pathways that we offer, we have one student in charge of the pathway that would help with the programming. So we would have consistent people working on developing the programming for those under the direction of our supervisory kid leadership, student leadership. So the idea would be that they would then be trained to how to be a chief executive officer, and we would look to our partners to help with that training piece. So we would have a good understanding of how businesses operate. I pretend to know something about business, but if we can have our partners help us with that piece of it, obviously it would be greatly appreciated, just because that's what partners I think would really would help our kids benefit from, is understand the structure and function of these positions. But those positions, I would almost like to try to find a way to pay them a stipend in some way or another, either through a grant or through some of the current offerings through the state, or maybe a sponsorship, something of that nature. So the leadership of that group would actually be paid, and then with their hours that they would be putting in to lead the academy, could actually, see what it's like to earn a paycheck in some type of leadership position. So what they would do in those positions, they would meet in the summer to plan how the year is going to go, set up the idea of what the academy is going to offer, both virtually and hopefully in person. And as we move through this, then they'll incorporate the other students that will be unpaid on the work that needs to be done. And the paid positions will be open to juniors and seniors only, so they can build up to that point. I would say somebody like Eisen would be in one of those executive leadership roles just because of how much he plays into the academy. But I have a junior right now, Sid Javari, that has been well over 150 hours of time outside on his own, that I would consider him to be one of those leadership positions for the upcoming school year. Those kids have earned that right to apply for those positions, whereas freshmen and sophomores are still trying to figure things out and trying to figure out what they want to do with life in general, and they may not even know what pathway they want to belong to. So as they're learning about the pathways, they're also potentially positioning themselves for an executive position down the road. So it really is something that, again, would take care of the internship issue in case we still have pandemic concerns down the road. It would allow us to do some in-house training. There are other pieces and parts. Obviously, I'm trying to go fairly quick here, but there's a whole plan here that also deals with credentials and, credentialing that doesn't step on the toes of CVCC, because we don't want to take away anything from our partners, but that's been laid out. So we're just trying to consolidate as much as we can into this program without taking away from the other programs that currently exist and not adding more to the plates of teachers outside of those corporate curricular challenges, because those are, I think, going to be a very positive thing for the teachers that are involved. So that was an extremely quick overview of trying to think of internal internships, just so we don't have that issue next year. But you can see it. We do have the work of the program. I laid out those executives are going to have some reading requirements. They're going to have some training requirements. We might have teacher advisors. We might have partner advisors. And there's other things that we'll look at just to make sure that, you know, we're doing what we need to do to help these kids prepare for that next step, whatever it may be. And again, just like Dr. Hebert was saying with the STOL, it doesn't have to be those academically gifted kids only. It could be kids that are just working in that program that are trying to figure out their path. And because of their work, they're going to be rewarded with potentially this internship down the road to help them understand a leadership role. Mrs. Powers, did I miss anything in that really short synopsis of what I was trying to get across?
No, well, here's the thing. We have, over the last couple of years with the strategic plan in mind, really want to encourage student voice in what we do here as a school district. And so this piece is an extension of other work going on where principals have principal advisory councils, and the students have really stepped up and offered great feedback. So this is the next step, and we have student workers that support our scoreboard project and are learning a craft behind the scenes, working with Casey Kirtley under Chad's supervision as well. This would be the next thing, and I don't know whether or not this would be a position that could be supported through the board as a student worker, the 4 officers of the club. But clearly their work is going to be important and instrumental in not only their future, but the future of the academy. Students like those that Norm mentioned, Ison, you know, we all, every year we have students that we say, we're not going to sign the diploma. Ison's one of them this year. I'm just not signing the diploma because I don't want him to go away. But we have so many talented kids, and we think that giving them this kind of leadership opportunity under the umbrella of Norm and Laura would be great. They'll hone some really important skills and help us get the academy right. Because it's back to a statement I made earlier where I said, you know, we speak education ease. Well, sometimes we put programs together for the students that it's just a little off center for them, but with their feedback, we can get it right. And you know, a student in our high school today is very different than a student of 4 years ago. And so we have to continue to evolve as an organization, as a school district. So we're pretty excited about capitalizing on some greatly talented students, and we are interested in what you think about this idea. If it has merit in your opinion, we'd like to continue this exploratory stage that we're in with a hopeful launch for next school year. So any comments about that?
This is Marian. I think I love that idea. Thinking about the hours they would spend and kind of, providing a stipend, I think is a great, because I was thinking, gosh, with school and everything, but just conceptually, what you described, I love it. I think it's a great way to give them practical experience with their with their peers. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's pretty innovative, actually, and it's a nice. I don't know. We always continue to add different elements to the program, and I think that this is a nice evolution to the program, and it also provides opportunity for growth. So, I think it's pretty creative. I like it.
I really like the idea. And I know that the intention when this all started a few years ago was for kids to actually have internships within local businesses. Obviously, the pandemic halted that plan. So I like that you were creative and innovative in coming up with something that still gives kids an opportunity to have an internship. I would love to know more about what you would need then from the business community to help make this work.
So, Michelle, and this is going to be a short answer for right now. As I stated, I am not the business person. And so what I'd be looking for is that leadership, that something like what Marion's doing already with some of our kids, the leadership and understanding of what does a CEO really do? What does a vice president of operations really do? And so with my limited knowledge, I could pretend to help them, but the people that are in those positions or have the structure already in place to have a voice in the training of these students to help them understand that specific role, I think is the critical piece. And it might be, I'm envisioning like they might come in 2 weeks before school starts and we have a day-long training just so they can understand who they are and what they're applying to, and then we can make sure that they understand the job and how to direct people, kids, peers, to do the job that's required, and how to motivate people and how to be the leader that would need to be in that position. So
Norm, I was just going to say, rather than, and to answer Ms. Wilmot, but there's a model out there that Junior Achievement uses currently when they come in and teach economics to classrooms. And what we were thinking, or what I was thinking, and we kind of used this in the last place I worked, our robotics team worked as a business, had a business model. So they had a chief operating officer, they had a chief financial officer that took care of all the fundraising. They had they had business titles to their people who ran their group. And so we also had like a CFO come in and talk to the robotics CFO, mentored them on a monthly basis, much like what Junior Achievement does when they come in and teach a class about supply and demand or work with that class business. They help that class go through the business model. And so I was thinking that we would probably try and pair the business partnerships and their titles with the titles within the group. So if IT, or if our health group, our health science pathway creates something in HOSA, then we would have a COO in HOSA, a CFO in HOSA, and we would find a CFO of a health science-based business partner to come in and mentor or work with our CFO of HOSA. Same thing with skills. We would find a manufacturing company that had a chief operating officer, a chief financial officer, and we would pair them up with the skills group, or the robotics group would have an engineering kind of bent. And it would require that you would kind of follow the model that Junior Achievement already has in place, but within the club or group that you have set up as the extracurricular to the pathway.
Great. Thank you for that.
This is Todd Courtney. I'm not sure who was saying about Junior Achievement, but I was going to make the same comment. I was involved in Junior Achievement about 30 years ago, and a lot of this seems to be very similar methodology and model. And, Junior Achievement tends to be more on selling a physical product, and this seems to be a lot more of, service and things like that. But the concepts are still very similar.
I agree.
Todd, I know you can't see us. We were all nodding our heads yes for that. So, and Todd, 30 years ago, that was what? You were a third grader? So we'll figure that out.
Yeah, you need to work on your math skills, Mr. Potter.
That's why I rely on the experts. So we are at the hour, but I'm happy to talk with any one of you separately about this. And Dr. Hebert has obviously a lot of input on the process that's going to happen here. So our time is up, and I want to turn it back over to Kathy, but I also don't want to cut that discussion short and just offer, I have an open door. I'm always happy to talk with anybody on this call.
Thank you, Norm. Just before we go, I'm super excited about the future of the Academy. There's so many great things that are on the horizon, and, just the ability to hone some skills for kids in in this respect is really going to go a long way in helping them discern futures. So I think it's awesome. So thank you, Laura and Norm, for always thinking about our next best in regard to the academy. Just a word about our COVID initiative. Tomorrow night at the board meeting, I'll be presenting to the board a new initiative that the Ohio Department of Health is asking schools to do, and that is we have been given 1,200 COVID test kits for families and staff members. So if you have a family member who's asymptomatic, we will be providing these test kits to members of our community who are in the need. It's like telemedicine, however, it's a kit that you have to have a device, a computer with a webcam, and there's a proctor that walks you through the test process. You do the testing, swab, with the nose thing, and then you close the little test kit, and 15 minutes later, it'll tell you if your test comes back positive or negative. A positive is a positive. A negative would tell you that you probably, if you're asymptomatic, you should probably go for a PCR test with your healthcare provider. But that's the next wave here as far as the district's efforts to help mitigate the coronavirus. And then, if you were paying attention to the news last night, the latest news from Governor DeWine is that he's asking public school districts to help with the vaccine effort for 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. So I already spoke last evening to our connection with the Educational Service Center, and we're going to line ourselves up to help with that effort too. I teasingly say to my staff here at the central office that I've been in the pharmacy business all year and I'm not a pharmacist, but we continue to be good partners with the governor's office, our educational service centers, and the Summit County Public Health, and specifically Summit County Public Health, because they have really helped us get through this very challenging year. So more will come out of these two efforts. For sure, the test kit effort after the board meeting tomorrow night, because we'll be showing a short video as to how this works and provide direction as to how parents can retrieve a test kit if they need to. And then the second thing with regard to the vaccinations for the high school students, that is very at the very beginning of the planning, but if that is something a parent would choose, it's nice to be able to have that done right here on our campus instead of you having to make an appointment, and it gets a little unwieldy for some families. So we just continue to try to be good partners. And then finally, the 21-22 school year is on everybody's mind. Currently, we're analyzing the parent survey. We received 1,700 responses, and you think that's a lot, but we have over 2,200 families. So we have what we have as far as the feedback. Hands down, parents want all students back on campus. Hands down, high school families are saying, hey, we want them back on campus, do 3 feet social distance. Our elementary families are being much more cautious. So as a school district, we have to try to figure out how to get everyone back on campus starting in August, and also keeping everyone safe. We're very mindful of the variants with this virus, and so cautiously optimistic about what next year brings for our students with everyone back on campus, but also very cautious about how the configuration of the grade bands will look and how we can ensure that we can get everybody back. May not be on the campus that that we're used to traditionally having, say, for example, 6th grade, but there are some decisions that will have to be made here shortly so that we can provide direction for our families. Everyone wants to know what we're doing in August, and quite honestly, it's going to take time to figure the plan out so that we do it well. One of the benefits for the plan that was developed for the current year is we didn't have to come in and out. We had neighbor districts that they were pivoting all the time. Our plan allowed us to stay the course, and so there's comfort in knowing that from our parents' point of view, that the district wasn't going to shift gears, that they knew when we had the plan launched that we were going to stay steady. And so as we move into next year, our goal here is to create the same kind of plan so that families have confidence in what the school district will provide for our students and for the families that we support. So stay tuned for that. The board
Kathy?
will hear the very first part of that on tomorrow night. Some data that we'll be presenting, and then a longer report on April 21st. And I'm sorry, I cut somebody off.
Yeah, no, I was just to say, Kathy, can you just expand a little bit about the logistics around this current plan and what had to be moved in terms of classrooms and you know, it was momentous, but behind the scenes. And I don't think, you know, people might realize just what had to happen to make this plan work. And yes, we stuck by it and, you know, did not go in and out, as you say, but just moving classrooms and bus schedules and so forth.
It's a logistical thing more than anything else. You know, first when we make a decision, okay, this is how we want to determine the social distance piece. Then it was a math problem, honestly, and the measurement and how do you make it all fit in pieces and part. We actually moved 12 grade bands of students. And we did that over the summer months. And so things were packed up. And so, you know, we've had a couple of parents who say, well, things have changed in Ohio. Can we get all kids back on campus right now? Well, right now we're in the middle of the school year and we have classrooms with kids and teaching supplies. And so to say it's easy to move 12 grade bands back is sort of, it's a misunderstanding about how huge this is. Imagine moving your house. Well, this is 12 grade bands. And so it's a tremendous effort, changing bus schedules and all of that. So transportation will play another large piece in the configuration for next year. We recognize that some of our parents at the high school level selected the virtual academy piece because they didn't have a way of getting their child to school. And so we know it's really important to align transportation to allow for high school transportation to begin again in August. When that happens, we also must begin to transport parochial and private schools. And so that's all part of the mix of getting this thing launched again. So it is a big thing. You know, currently we only transport 24 kids on a bus. If we go back to 48 students on a bus, our parents are going to be comfortable with that all the way up the grade bands, because you can't just do it for one building. That's a decision for the entire district. And we have high school kids who have gotten used to starting at 8:15. So can we continue to have the high school start later? And what will that mean as far as everybody else's start and end times? So it is a huge puzzle. That's why we're going to be very cautious in moving forward with a defined plan, because you don't want to miss any of those details. Parents have the right and we have the responsibility to have a plan that's well developed before it's launched. And so I know people are anxious. I hope that everyone continues to give us grace and are patient with us, because we want to do this the right way and keep everyone's safety right at the middle of all these decisions. So more to come. It's a very busy time in the school district, and of course all the end of the year activities, lots of excitement for the class of 21. And we just really appreciate all of your continued support. And you'll be hearing more from us about the 21-22 plan here over the next several months. Mr. Felber, is that what you were looking for? Okay. All right. I know we're at 9:09, but I think I can show you the student commercial because you have to see it because Mark's son is a star in it, and I don't want to have you miss this. And so this is the second commercial for.
I believe that Turkey School District is very special because.
Is it showing?
No video.
No video.
And if you could turn your audio up, I don't know if you're able or not.
Yeah, I'm having trouble. Matt's telling me on the other end. I'll send you all the links so you can just watch it yourself. How's that? It's a wonderful commercial. It features a number of our kids talking about what the importance is for them to be a student in our school district, and they're just wonderful commercials. So I will send them all to everybody on the call this morning, and enjoy. So that concludes our meeting. We apologize for being 10 minutes after the ending time, but good conversation today. A lot of great things happening with the Academy. And we thank you for always being supportive of our efforts. And with that,
May 25th?
the next.
Yep.
Yes, we have one more meeting for the school year, and it's at the bottom of the agenda.
Yes, May 25th.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. I think everybody's in favor. So
Aye.
I think we're done. Thank you, everybody, for all the various presentations, comments. Very good interaction today.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good day.